Hey everybody, welcome to today's video. Today's video we are going to de-supercharge the Jeep. We're going to return it to stock. We're also going to trace down that high idle issue while we're at it and go from there, because that's going to be the series on my other channel where a little while ago I posted a video and it's going to let the viewers decide, what they think could be wrong. We're going to check it out. I don't think that video has shown on my other channel. I don't know, there's like a 2-month gap, but my other channel might be a little faster in some things. But let's get started on stripping the supercharger off. Before we get started on this project, there's one last look of the M62 supercharger that we are returning to stock. Now my fuel pressure valve is underneath the manifold, so we can't bleed off the pressure. So what I'm gonna do is pull the fuel pump relay, and now I'm going to start it up and relieve the pressure that way. Now we're going to disconnect the battery. We're just going to remove the negative post. Battery's disconnected. This is for the split second tuner. I guess I could pull the belt off, start removing all the hosing. That's for the evap, all that shit. One thing with running the superchargers when you're installing is make sure you don't mix up your boost and your vacuum. Like for example, your map sensor right here needs to see boost, so it comes down to this line, and this line right here tees off to the split second tuner right there, and the other part of the T goes to my boost gauge in the dash and goes into the manifold. Now this one here runs down to your evap lines and it pulls off the supercharger, but before it gets boosted. Same with this line here. This is your fuel line that goes to your 7th injector in the back. And then my brake booster, of course, is right there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start pulling all these vacuum lines off, getting everything out of the way. We'll disconnect the throttle cable and that. I was smart a while ago, and I knew I was gonna do this sooner or later, was get a new bracket, because when I installed the supercharger, in order to make it work, I had to modify that bracket and weld it. I know the reason why the supercharger's got high idle, and the reason why I was smelling fuel. Right down there is where the brake booster hooks up, and it blew that nipple right off. Things are serious when you have to get the hydraulic ram out to help split that plate, because there was no giving whatsoever. I had the air chisel out. I think I broke it free enough that I might be able to. There we go. Now the seal's broken. I used that Right Stuff gasket maker, and holy shit, does that create a seal. Now that I got the top pulled off, you can see right there, I had like a rubber plug on there, and it blew it right off, rotted right out. So I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, see, those ones down there are the exact same. They're ready to blow off too. Look at that mess of tools, but I gotta get ready to head out. So de-supercharging is almost finished. It might rain tonight, and with the Poison Spider louver, I didn't want to leave the intake open, so I just threw part of the Banks air thing on. I gotta put a barb in there to return from the PCV on the valve cover, and that is for your air intake temperature sensor. The evap lines are hooked up, the vacuum for the boost vacuum gauge, and your vent selection is hooked up. So basically the old fuel line is installed again. So realistically, the only thing I have left to do is I'm gonna remove the catch can, hook up this, do those few things, change the oil, and this thing is ready to run. Considering that I haven't changed oil in 2 years, it's probably, I should probably do it. and I'm gonna put some Marvel mystery oil in it and see if I notice any difference. Well, it's a good thing I did decide to cover the intake, because shortly after I left last night to go to the pub, it poured rain. And with that poison spider louver hood, that water would have went right down in the intake and probably would have caused me some grief. So I have the PCV running to the manifold right here. Air intake temperature sensor is hooked back up. The map sensor, unfortunately, is hooked up to master brake cylinder because I can't find that little elbow to screw it inside properly. And only one last thing left to do before we fire it up is I'm gonna clean these battery posts up because they got some corrosion. I think we're ready for startup. All right, looks like we're good to go. Let's fire it up, see what happens. Grab some of this throttle body cleaner. So far we're running good, no engine codes, idling's back to normal because that vacuum leak is fixed. Air fuel ratio is 14.6. Let it run for a little bit, drive it up on ramps, change the oil because it has been 2 years. Bust out the old coveralls. 2 years of no oil changes. It's gonna be gross. Can't even remember what size wrench it was. 17 millimeter maybe? I'll grab a bunch. 16, 17. For 2-year-old oil, it's not as bad as I thought. All right, we're ready to start filling and almost ready to head her out. I'm gonna dump in some of this Marvel mystery oil that people keep raving about, except I'm not gonna dump the whole bottle in, I'm just gonna dump in like half of it. See if that does anything or not. Everybody claims this shit's magic, so we'll see. Add a little bit more. And I'll dump the rest in the fuel tank. People always ask me about oil, and I run AMSOIL in pretty much everything except for the Jetta. I run OEM oil in the Jetta. Just because it's the same price to go to the dealership or order it online, so it's just more convenient to drive to the dealership. Everything's back connected. I'm just doing a health report on the Jeep, seeing if there's anything that it detects now that we got everything back up and running. Man, there's lots of stuff to check out. And everything checks out okay. I want to go into the power control module. And what I want to do is reset the computer. I think we gotta go into here. I think we gotta go into special function. Yeah, clear PCM. Clearing the PCM will erase all the PCM's memory RAM just as the battery disconnect. We already had the battery disconnected, but I'm just running that through anyways. Well, let's take it out for a rip now and see how it performs. Gotta fuel it up. Be the first time in a couple of years I can put regular gas back in it, so I'll be pretty happy about that. It'd be way cheaper. That's a beautiful sight right there. 55 kilometers and we're still on the full mark. With the Supercharger, I would be getting pretty close to the 3/4 mark because I would be getting 75 kilometers to a quarter tank of fuel. I just got home right now, almost 108 kilometers, pretty much right on the mark. So I'm gaining quite a bit more mileage now. All right, it's motherfucking beer time. We're gonna have some Moosehead Pale Ale. All right, motherfucking beer time. I'm gonna end this video here. That went extremely quick. Not only did I get the Supercharger removed, returned back to somewhat stock, set my camshaft sync, and then listed my Supercharger on Kijiji and sold it in 2 days. Motherfucking beer time. And in another 2 days, I have eye surgery. So this will hopefully be the last time you'll see me with glasses. So if you have any questions or comments, post them below. Otherwise, I want to thank you guys for watching.